There is a strange sensation that has been with you for a long time. Perhaps you don't yet know how to name it, but it is there, present, insistent, almost like a shadow you drag along without realizing. You look around and realize you are traversing something that no one else can recognize. The people close to you live their routines, speak of the same things, worry about the same details, repeat the same patterns, and you are there, in silence, feeling that you see layers that no one else sees. You listen to a banal conversation and perceive 3 layers of subtext that no one mentions. You enter a room and immediately feel the energy unfolding, even when everyone is pretending that everything is fine. You look at certain people and know, without anyone telling you, that something inside them is broken or is about to break, or broke a long time ago, and no one wants to see it anymore. And then comes the doubt that has haunted you for years, perhaps decades. Am I the one who is wrong? Am I overreacting? Am I making things up where they don't exist? Am I alone in this? Does no one else feel what I feel? Was I born with some kind of factory defect that no one knew how to explain to me? I need you to listen carefully now, because what I'm about to tell you may change the way you understand your entire life. This feeling of loneliness is not a defect of yours. It is not a symptom of illness. It is not an indication that you are antisocial. It is not proof that you are lost. It is the mark of something very specific, very rare, and very necessary. You are at a level of consciousness different from the people who are physically around you, and this has a name. You are what is called in some deeper traditions the firstborn, the forebearer, someone who is blazing a path before that path exists on the collective map. You are among the first of your lineage, the first of your circle, the first of your environment to perceive what is being lost, what needs to be broken, what needs to be freed, what needs to be seen. Every important leap in human consciousness seemed like madness before it seemed obvious. Think about that for a second. Every revolutionary idea that we consider basic today was at some point in history ridiculed by everyone. Every person who saw it first was called strange, delusional, eccentric, difficult, problematic, before being recognized as a visionary. And you are living this same archetype on your own scale, in your own family, in your own circle. That is why it hurts. That is why they isolate you. That is why they call you dramatic. That is why they tell you to stop thinking so much, to stop feeling so much, to stop questioning so much. Because your existence, just as it is, threatens the structure that others have built to feel safe. And if you are feeling what I am describing now, if something inside you just awakened while listening to this, if you have that feeling of finally being seen, then pay very close attention. You are in an extraordinary position. You are carrying a frequency, a perception, a sensitivity that others cannot yet sustain. And this, as heavy as it may be right now, is one of the rarest honors a soul can receive in the lowlands. For a long time you believed you were just trying to survive your own awakening. You thought this inner search was selfish. You thought you were isolating yourself too much. You thought you just needed to understand yourself better, get your life together, protect your peace because the world had become too noisy for you. You heard voices telling you that you were being individualistic, that you were distancing yourself from people, that you were building walls, that you were wasting time with these reflections. But you didn't realize one fundamental thing, and that is what I want to talk to you about now. Every step you take toward yourself is leaving invisible traces in reality. Every pattern you break, every cycle you interrupt, every boundary you set within your family, every time you say no to something that has always been normalized in your lineage, you are strengthening an entire energetic current for the generations that come after. Think about it in a very concrete way. If you are the first person in your family to seek therapy, you have broken a pattern of centuries. If you are the first person in your lineage to refuse a marriage of interest, you have freed a sequence of generations who lived imprisoned in the same destiny. If you are the first person to speak about mental health in your circle, the first to set limits with toxic parents, the first to leave an imposed religion, the first to choose a career path that no one understands, you are being the turning point of an entire current. Your children, your children's children, nieces, nephews, souls that haven't even arrived on this plane yet, they will inherit the opening you are creating now, in silence, alone, without applause, without recognition, without anyone to tell you that what you are doing is important. What you discover first paves the way for those who follow. And this is one of the hardest truths to accept, because while you open the path, you don't see who will walk through it. You only feel the weight of opening it. There is a hunger inside you that perhaps has never been properly named. The hunger for validation. You look for proof that your path is real. You look for masters who confirm what you feel. You look for communities that describe your experience exactly. You look for books, videos, content, people, anything that puts into words what you cannot explain. You read an excerpt from an author and think, finally someone understands me. You listen to a song and feel like it was written for you. You watch a video and cry because it feels like the person is speaking directly to your soul. And when that moment of identification passes, the emptiness comes back. Because as much as those references touch you, they do not replace what you are truly looking for. And what you are truly looking for is permission. Permission to trust yourself. Permission to be who you know you came here to be. Permission to stop apologizing for seeing what you see. I need to tell you something that might sound harsh at first, but will set you free if you let it in. No external answer will replace the internal signal you already have. The guides that exist today were designed for people who awakened under different conditions, in different eras, in different contexts, with different challenges. The sacred books were written for civilizations that had no idea what it would be like to live in this hyper-connected, hyper-saturated with information, hyper-fast world we live in today. Ancient spiritual traditions had answers for a world that no longer exists. The masters who came before you opened a path as far as they could reach, but you didn't come to repeat their path. You came to open your own, from the point where they stopped. Trusting yourself is not arrogance. It is continuity. It is honoring the work the ancients began and continuing forward where they were not yet able to go. You are not being haughty by listening to your intuition. You are being faithful to the mission you accepted even before you arrived here. And here is the most important skill of the firstborn, and it is none of those you are thinking of. It is not how much you meditate per day. It is not how much you can maintain a rigid spiritual routine. It is not how much you have studied philosophy, psychology, or metaphysics. It is not how much you can explain your beliefs when someone doubts you. It is not how much you read, how much you write, or how much you share. The most important skill, the only one that truly separates those who fulfill this mission from those who give up halfway, is the ability to trust the silent signal within you while the whole world tries to make you doubt, while your parents don't understand, while your friends drift away, while your partner asks why you are so different, while your boss looks at you as if you were an alien, while you yourself, on some days, wonder if you are going insane. This low voice, this gut feeling, this intuition that insists even when you try to silence it, is what needs to be obeyed. It is the needle of your internal compass. And if you learn to obey this voice, even when it contradicts everyone, you will have unlocked the most valuable skill the firstborn can have. You were born seeing what others do not see, and spent your life apologizing for it. Stay silent for another year and lose who you were. The awakening grid is the end of the lie you were taught to live. Before I continue, because what comes next is exactly about what still hurts, about what still wounds, about what still paralyzes you on this journey, I need to tell you about something that changed the way many the firstborns understood their own mission. There is a portal of information called the Wheel of Fortune, and it is no longer just a course. It is no longer just shelf content. It is no longer just a collection of empty affirmations for you to repeat in the mirror in the morning without feeling anything. The Wheel of Fortune is the map that was missing for those who were born seeing too much and never knew what to do with it. It is what puts in order all the pieces you have been collecting for years without a fit. If you are the firstborn, if you feel you carry something you cannot translate, if you are tired of trying to belong to systems that were never made for you, then what this matrix reveals is literally the design of your energy field, of your original purpose, of the exact blockage that is preventing you from prospering in this mission. People who entered this path described it as finally having found the key to a door they had seen for years without being able to open. The description is down here in the pinned link. Before you finish this video, before this feeling you are experiencing now goes away, go there, read it calmly, and see if this is for you. Because if it is, Ignoring this will cost you another whole year living half of what you could be. Another year apologizing for seeing. Another year pretending to be small to fit into environments that were never your size. And you don't have another year to lose. None of us do. Returning to what hurts most about being the firstborn, the perception others have of you. This is the part no one tells you properly when talking about awakening. The people who love you, who try to protect you, who say they worry about you, are sometimes exactly the ones who suffer most from your growth. Not because they are bad, not because they want to hurt you, but because your awakening threatens the structure they built to feel safe. When you start to break family patterns, when you stop accepting conversations you always accepted, when you refuse to participate in gossip, in judgments, in emotional games your family has played for generations, when you leave lunches early, when you no longer respond to emotional blackmail, when you start defending your time, your peace, your space, the first signs of this rupture are immediately interpreted as a problem. You become the difficult one. You become the one who changed. You become the one who thinks they are better than everyone. You become the one who got weird. You become the subject of conversations where you are not present. And it hurts. It hurts deeply because no one wants to be misunderstood by the people they love most. You are not doing any of this to hurt anyone. You are just trying to be faithful to a truth you discovered about yourself. But the truth has a cost, and this cost most of the time is the temporary loss of belonging. I need to remind you of one very important thing now. Criticism is information. When someone criticizes you for the direction you are taking, in the absolute majority of cases, that criticism says more about that person's fear than about your path. When someone calls you dramatic, they are saying they cannot bear to feel what you feel. When someone calls you difficult, they are saying you are no longer being as easily manipulated as before. When someone calls you selfish for taking care of yourself, they are saying they depended on you giving up yourself to feel comfortable. Learn to decode criticism as information, not as a verdict. The world rarely accepts the truth when it arrives too early. You are arriving early. It is okay for them to take time to understand you. Look at history. Seriously, look. Every great idea was ridiculed before it was taught. Every scientist who saw beyond their time was called crazy before being called a genius. Every person who dared to live differently was seen as problematic before being seen as inspiring. The strange becomes obvious as time passes. The delusion becomes vision when the results start to appear. And you, who are living now in the phase where others do not yet understand, need to remember this every day. Not being understood is not the same as being wrong. Not being comprehended is not rejection of your essence. Often, it is confirmation that you are advancing in a direction others have not yet reached. If everyone agreed with you, you probably wouldn't be the firstborn. You would just be another one. The disagreement of others, painful as it is one of the most reliable thermometers that you are fulfilling your original function. And here comes one of the most beautiful parts of this journey. Although you still cannot perceive it properly, the function of your presence in the world is much greater than you imagine. Over time, and this is already beginning to happen, even if you are not paying attention, people start coming to you in their most difficult moments. Not for fame, not for public recognition, not because you sold yourself as a guru, not because you created a sophisticated personal brand. They come to you because they feel in you something rare, a safe space where authenticity is possible. You know that person who no one imagined was suffering and suddenly broke down in front of you. That is your field working. You know that friend you barely saw and who out of nowhere called you in the middle of the night. That is your field working. You know that co-worker who always seemed unshakable and who one day confessed to you that they were in therapy, in depression, in a critical moment. That is your field working. Someone will confess to you something they have never told anyone. Someone will allow themselves to feel in front of you an emotion that had been repressed for decades. Someone will cry beside you without needing to explain why. Someone will seek you out, not to receive advice, but to feel finally safe enough to be real. Moments that change entire lives will happen in silence, without witnesses, without applause, without anyone to tell you that you just saved a soul. And you will go home thinking it was just any conversation. It wasn't. Your proof is not in public approval. Your proof is in who trusts you in private, in who seeks you out when the world collapses, in who allows themselves to be real beside you. This is your invisible resume, and it is more valuable than any social recognition you could possibly achieve. But until these moments arrive more frequently, until this purpose becomes clearer, there is a very specific loneliness that you will need to learn to inhabit. It is the loneliness of understanding, and it is different from any other loneliness you have experienced. It is not the loneliness of someone who is alone. It is the loneliness of someone who is surrounded and yet feels a huge distance. It is being at a party full of people and feeling that no one there speaks your language. It is being at a family lunch and perceiving in seconds all the dynamics at play, while the others are trapped only in what is being said on the surface. It is looking at a situation and seeing instantly all the layers, all the subtexts, all the hidden wounds, while others are just reacting to the obvious. It is perceiving things that others avoid perceiving because perceiving hurts too much. True loneliness is not being without anyone around. True loneliness is seeing what others cannot yet see, and this loneliness, as much as it hurts, is also the clearest signal that you are fulfilling your function. Because someone needs to see first, someone needs to feel first, someone needs to name first, someone needs to have the courage to say, "This is not right, this needs to change, this cannot continue like this." And this someone, at some point in your life, was chosen to be you. You didn't ask for it, maybe you don't even want it, but you were. And denying this mission will not bring you relief. It will only bring you another type of suffering, the suffering of someone who knows what they came to do and is pretending they don't. Meanwhile, you are building in silence. You are moving before the visible proofs arrive. You are creating new ways of living, of loving, of working, of relating, ways that others cannot yet measure, because their measuring instruments were calibrated for the old reality. You are changing the game while they are still playing by the old rules. You are asking questions for which there is no ready collective language yet. You are proposing ways of existing that have not yet been catalogued by social structures. And that is why it is so difficult to explain what you are doing. It is not because you don't know. It is because there is no shared vocabulary to describe it yet. You are literally the vocabulary under construction. Deep roots are rarely seen, but they are what support everything that comes after. The tree that will be admired tomorrow is being built underground now, with no one looking, with no one applauding, with no one telling you it is worth it. And this is exactly how you build a life that matters, a lineage that transforms, an inheritance that crosses generations. Speaking of inheritance, this is perhaps the most moving part of everything you are experiencing, the inheritance of the first ascent. Every pattern you break frees those who come after. Every tear you cry alone today is a tear that some descendant of yours will not need to cry tomorrow. Every boundary you set within your family, every difficult conversation you have the courage to have, every toxic relationship you have the courage to end, every limiting belief you have the courage to dismantle, every time you choose your truth instead of collective comfort. All of this forms a chain of liberation that extends far beyond what your eyes can see now. Think of your great-grandmother. Think of the women who came before her. Think of the men who raised your lineage amidst wars, famines, losses, traumas that were never named. They passed all this on, in silence, in the form of fears, blockages, patterns of behavior that you inherited without knowing why. You are the first person in many lines of your history to look at these patterns head-on and say, "This stops here. This will not continue. This will not be passed on." This is the inheritance of the first ascent. You are being the filter. You are being the turning point. You are being the generation that decided to break the chain. The benefit may not be immediately visible. You may spend this entire life without seeing the fruits of what you are planting. You may die without your family properly understanding what you did. You may be remembered in some circles only as the strange one, the different one, the one who chose a path no one understood. But what you endured in silence will be the open door through which many others will pass. There are people who will be born free because you dared to free yourself. There is a soul that will arrive in this world already, with the possibility of being authentic from the beginning, because you had the courage to be authentic even when it cost you everything. This is the invisible inheritance of the firstborn, and it is more valuable than any material inheritance you could leave. I need you to feel this fully now. Do not rush through this part. Breathe, receive, let it truly in. You are not late, you are not lost, you are not wrong, you are first. You are here before the majority, seeing before the majority, feeling before the majority, suffering before the majority, transforming before the majority. You are building, with your existence, a foundation that others will use later, without even knowing you were the one who placed it there, and it is okay if they never know. Your function does not depend on their recognition. Your function is fulfilled in the act itself of being done, not in the applause that comes after. Your path is invisible now, but it is inevitably significant. There is a purpose woven into every night you couldn't sleep thinking about things. There is a purpose in every conversation that ended with you feeling like a stranger in your own circle. There is a purpose in every time you had to give up belonging to not betray who you are. There is a purpose in every tear you cried in the shower, without anyone knowing. There is a purpose in every relationship you needed to end, in every job you needed to quit, in every city you needed to leave, in every old version of yourself you needed to bury to be able to continue. Think of all the times you felt like the one in the wrong, of all the times you were accused of being too intense, too sensitive, too deep, too demanding, of all the times you apologized for being who you are, of all the times you tried to shrink yourself to fit into environments that were never your size, of all the times you stayed silent so as not to cause discomfort, of all the times you pretended not to understand, pretended not to see, pretended not to feel, just to manage to keep belonging. Each of these times left a scar inside you, and these scars are not marks of weakness, they are marks of a witness. You were a witness to a truth that was not yet permitted to be spoken, and you kept this truth inside you, in silence, until this moment. Perhaps this video is the first time in a long time that someone tells you these scars have meaning, that this silence had a purpose, that this loneliness was not a punishment, that this intensity was not a defect, that this depth was not a curse. You were made like this, you were designed like this, you came with this configuration, with this sensitivity, with this way of seeing because someone needed to see. And you accepted, even before arriving here, to be this someone. So today, now, at this exact moment, I want to ask you something very simple, but which can change the rest of your life if you take it seriously. Trust. Trust your vision. Trust your process. Trust the silent impact you are already leaving, even without realizing it. Trust that this discomfort that brought you here is not punishment, it is direction. Trust that your sensitivity is not fragility, it is spiritual technology. Trust that your different way of seeing the world is not a defect, it is design. You were made to see, you were made to feel. You were made to name what no one else has yet had the courage to name. You were made to pave the way. And no one paves a way without getting hurt a little in the process, because by definition, paving a way is going where there is no road yet. Perhaps you are listening to this now at a moment when you are about to give up on something important. Perhaps you are thinking of returning to a smaller version of yourself because this bigger version hurts too much. Perhaps you are about to go silent again, to conform again, to shrink again. I ask you in the name of everything you have already built up to here, in the name of every tear you have already cried on this walk, in the name of every sleepless night this mission has already cost you, do not give up now. You are closer than you imagine. The first people to pass through the path you are opening have already started to arrive, even if you don't see them yet. Every deep conversation you have had in the last few months was a seed. Every time someone said, "Wow, I had never thought of that," was a confirmation. Every time someone cried beside you and said thank you was a receipt. You are fulfilling the mission, just don't stop fulfilling it. If this resonated with you, if at any moment in this video you felt a chill, a tear wanting to fall, a feeling of finally being understood, of finally having words for what you have felt for so long, I want you to write in the comments the phrase, "I embrace my ascent." Write it without fear, without justifying yourself, without needing anyone's approval. Write it as a silent oath to yourself, as a milestone that separates who you were up to here from who you decide to be from now on. Do not write it for me. Do not write it for the algorithm. Write it for you. Write it like someone signing a contract with themselves in the light of day, in witness to their own awakening. And remember one thing, what you are living today is the foundation of what others will walk on tomorrow. What you do in silence now will become the freedom of many later. You are not alone in this mission, even if it seems so. You are just in front. And being in front, as difficult as it is one of the rarest honors a soul can receive on this plane. You are first. You are foundation. You are opening. You are beginning. And what begins in you never ends in you. It multiplies, it unfolds, it extends. It crosses doors you won't even get to see. This is the hidden meaning of your existence, and no misunderstanding, no criticism, no loneliness, no doubt will be able to erase this from you. Continue. Trust. Remain. You are exactly who the world needed you to be, even if the world doesn't know it yet.